Well, I have the latest numbers. They've just come in, and for the first time in months, I think we may have finally hit the bottom of the market here in Lakewood Ranch. Now, I'm not saying this lightly because I can feel the market activity picking up. I'm getting more showings on my listings, and I'm getting more phone calls from buyers ready to move forward. So stick with me because I'm going to break it all down and show you why this moment might be the best opportunity we've seen in a couple of years. Now, before we get into the numbers, I want you to take a look at the Lakewood Ranch map. We've added the areas east of Bourneside, which is Colusa, Catalina, and Saddlestone. And then to the north of State Road 64 is Palm Grove, and then east of Lorraine at Fruitville is Monterey. Now, this helps us keep up to date on the entire Lakewood Ranch area. So as you're well aware, my videos are based on data, information that we have on past sales history here in Lakewood Ranch. And most of our data comes from the MLS, which tracks the sales listed in the multiple listing service. Now, some of this data can be skewed because we're a very heavy new home market and not all homes that are new are listed on the MLS. All right, so let's break down what's really happening here in Lakewood Ranch, starting with the active listings. So right now we have 555 homes for sale. The average list price is about $933, while the median sits at $725. So there are some high-end homes that are pulling that average up. The price per square foot is about $348, with homes spending roughly 103 days on the market. Now, for pending sales, there are 118 homes that are under contract, and the average list price on those homes is $843 with a median of $627. Now, the average days on market before going under contract, 91 days. So that tells us that buyers are still active, especially in the upper mid-range. And in the sold category, 146 homes closed recently. The average sold price was just under $949, while the median was $740. On average, sellers are getting 96% of their asking price, and that's taking about 55 days for homes to go under contract after the listing. Now, you know that percentage is based on the time it goes under contract and not the original list price. The average price per square foot sold for the month was $330, and if you remember last month from the MLS data, it was $304 a square foot. When you compare these averages to the last few months, prices are holding steady, not dropping. Combine that with a healthy pending pipeline, and this could be the sign that we're bouncing off the bottom of the market. Now, I want to add a new feature here where we dive into specific neighborhoods in Lakewood Ranch and see how they're performing. While we can look at the overall area of Lakewood Ranch, when it comes to actually buying a home in a specific neighborhood, it's best to drill down to that area and see what that shows for those numbers in that neighborhood. So this month, we're going to take a look at Lakewood Ranch Country Club and Lakehouse Cove. And if you want to see a neighborhood that you're interested in, just post a comment down below and we'll get those added to the market update series. So let's start with Lakewood Ranch Country Club. So we have 38 active listings right now, and they're asking premium prices with an average list price of nearly $1.3 million and the median around $862,500. But what's particularly interesting in the price per square foot, we're seeing an average of $390 per square foot, with some properties asking as much as $654 a square foot. So where we are on pending sales? Well, we have 8 pending sales, and the pending properties are slightly smaller on average, a little over 3,000 square feet. But here's the kicker. They're achieving very similar pricing at $393 per square foot. So this suggests that buyers are willing to pay premium prices, but they're being selective exactly which properties merit those prices. Now, what really stands out is the days to contract data. These pending sales took an average of 107 days to get under contract, with some taking as long as 157 days. So how do the sold properties look? Well, this is kind of a reality check. The 12 recent sales give us the clearest picture of the market. Buyers are negotiating. The average sale price of $356 per square foot is lower than what the sellers are asking of $390, and what's currently pending of $393. More importantly, let's look at the sale price to list price ratio, which is 95%. So that means that homes are selling about 95% of their asking price at time of contract. Now, the market timing tells another story. These properties sold at about 116 days to get under contract and 163 days to close. So both the buyers and the sellers are taking their time to make the right decisions. So what does this mean for 2025? Well, we're not seeing the rapid appreciation and quick sales of the pandemic years, but we're also not seeing a collapse. Instead, we're seeing something that might even be better for long-term stability, which is a balanced market where quality properties at the right price are still moving, but buyers have regained their negotiation powers. So for the sellers, the message is clear. Price it right from the start because buyers are taking their time and comparing options. For buyers, you're in a position to be selective and negotiate, but quality properties in this community are still commanding the premium prices. So what's the bottom line? Well, Lakewood Ranch Country Club remains a premium market and the fundamentals are strong. We're still seeing nearly $400 per square foot pricing, but the days of accepting any price for a property are over. This is a return to a more traditional real estate environment where location, condition, and pricing all matter equally. So let's transition down to Lakehouse Cove and see what they're doing so far in July of 2025. So Lakehouse Cove operates as a small-scale luxury market with 22 total properties, 13 active listings, 2 pending sales, and 7 recent closings. This limited inventory creates different market dynamics compared to the subdivisions like Lakewood Ranch Country Club. So what is the current pricing structure? Well, the active listings range from $649,900 to a little over $2 million, averaging $1.179. The price per square foot starts at $342 and goes up to $597 with an average of $454. So this represents premium pricing within the Lakewood Ranch area with the median list price at $919,000. And the property sizes really vary from 1,625 square feet to 3,579 square feet, and they're predominantly the 3-bedroom, 3-bath configurations. And the average square footage of those homes in Lakehouse Cove is 2,525. So the active listings have been on the market for an average of 104 days with a median of 76 days. And the range extends from 27 to 245 days on market, showing a significant variation in marketing periods. And the 2 pending sales required 96 and 134 days to go under contract, which gives us an average of 115. And they're priced lower than the active average at $686 and the average $345 a square foot. So what about the sales? The sale price averaged $931 against the list price of $976, and that gives you a 96% list price to sell price ratio. Now, the data reveals a pricing progressive, which is active listings average $454 per square foot, but recent sales of $401 per square foot, and then the pending are at $345 a square foot. This suggests that the active inventory may be testing higher price points than recent market performance supports, so somebody has a reality check coming. Sales negotiations typically resulted in a 4% price reduction from the list price, indicating that sellers maintain most of their asking price, but buyers retain some negotiation leverage. So what about the supply and demand? Well, with 13 active listings against only 2 pending sales, the current absorption rate appears slow. This is a 6.5 to 1 ratio of active pending inventory, suggests either selective buyer activity or pricing above the current demand levels. The transaction volume of 7 sales relative to the active inventory of 13 indicates a measured market pace where individual transactions carry more weight in establishing value trends. Lakehouse Cove demonstrates the classic luxury market traits, higher price per square foot pricing, and the limited inventory and transaction volume creates a market where individual property characteristics and pricing decisions significantly impact the overall metrics. And where you see this negative days of sales, that shows that those are new construction, which are reflected in the overall sales data for Lakewood Ranch. These new homes that are sold here would be indicated in the MLS. Now, this is just my opinion, and I think that this is what's going to happen. But if the lower interest rates kick in, there's also one other factor that could serve as a market shift here in Lakewood Ranch. Governor DeSantis has been floating the idea of doing away with property tax for homeowners in Florida, and I can't tell you how much that one thing would stimulate home sales. The replacement of the funds would come from an increase in the local sales tax in each county, and in Manatee County, we're about 6%, and that would probably increase to about 12%. But that would be be spread across all tourists, renters, and visitors, as well as homeowners. One other thing worth mentioning, new home construction represents about 65% of all homes sold in Lakewood Ranch. I called my contact over at Lakewood Ranch Info, and they confirmed this and told me that in the first 6 months of this year, Lakewood Ranch recorded 1,185 new home sales. Now that compares to 458 resales. So I ran the numbers from January to June, and 458 were the resales. I had to get the number from the information center because not all of those sales are reflected. As a matter of fact, only 401 of the new home sales were handled by an agent. Well, that's 66% of those sales went unrepresented. They went direct to the builders without an agent. So what's my point with this? Well, get a good qualified agent who's had a lot of contracts with new construction. The builders don't charge extra fees when an agent is involved. If anything, an agent who has a good relationship with a builder can get you a better price than you can on your own because they know what to ask for, they know how to approach the request, especially in this market where we have a lot of competition. So if you've ever considered Star Farms, check out this video next. Mark Bamey, Michael Saunders & Co.